Hello, I'm Ryan and welcome back to my channel. It is 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon and I am just about to make dinner. Yes, you heard me correct. 4 o'clock in the afternoon. No judgment. It's been a very long day. My dog Bella is still quite sick. I talked about this in my birthday video, but because of that, she woke me up really early this morning and I was not able to get back to bed. So I am extremely tired today. I'm just ready to have dinner, have a quiet night, sitting out on the porch, reading my book, and relaxing the rest of the night. Of course, later tonight, we'll still have our favorite healthy cookie dough shakes. If you haven't seen that recipe, I did make that and have the recipe in one of my first YouTube videos. So go and check that out after you're done with this one. We still had a nice day today. My son Sally and I met my aunt out for lunch, and then we bummed around, did some shopping. For our dinner tonight, we're having curry. This is one of my favorite recipes. I actually came up with this. I work Monday through Friday and the work week is quite busy. So I do a lot of our meal prepping, meal planning on the weekends. Yesterday was Saturday and I made a grocery list, went grocery shopping yesterday, and then I do a lot of the prep over the weekend as well. So I like to cut up the vegetables, things that we'll be using throughout the week to make it easier during the work week to cook those meals that I have planned out. I spent this morning, really early this morning, I made my husband these burritos that he likes, and I like to meal prep a ton of them. Then he freezes them for his lunches, and that way when he needs food or we don't have a lunch prep for him, he takes those with him. Yeah. The curry that I'm about to make will make extra as well, and I do that on purpose. So this will give us meals for our dinner tonight, and then I should have about 2 to 3 meals left over for my lunches for this week as well. Just depending on how much we eat tonight is how much will be left over. For this curry recipe, you're going to want a protein source. So I use extra firm tofu. If you're not a tofu fan though, you could easily swap out, I think, any protein, like some baked chicken or some cooked up shrimp would be good as well. And then for the spices and seasonings in the curry, I like black pepper, ginger, paprika, of course, curry powder, cumin, turmeric, garlic powder, some salt, and then 1 can of coconut milk. You'll also want some vegetables. I personally use the frozen vegetables because they're already pre-chopped, there's no prep work involved, and they're super easy to cook. So I typically use 1 bag of the stir fry, and this is 12 ounces. And then I also use 12 ounces of the broccoli and cauliflower mix for our curry, but you could really pick any vegetables that you want, that you like. You don't have to use what I'm using. With my curry, I personally choose the naan bread instead of rice because I just love naan bread. I love the texture of it. I love when it's heated up a little bit in the microwave, or I'll bake it in the oven. When the tofu is done, I'll just put it back in the oven for a few minutes to warm it up. I like to dip it in and kind of scoop up the curry, or sometimes I'll break the naan bread into little pieces and put it into the curry and then kind of mix it in so that way I can eat it like that, so it's not so messy, but whatever works for you. The first thing is preheat the oven for the tofu. So I set the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, what you want to do is take your package of tofu and open it up and drain the water out of it. And then I like to press some of the water out of the tofu. So I take just a plate and then a bit of paper towel here and set my tofu on top of that. And then I just gently press that tofu to help soak up some of that water. And I just grabbed a little bit more paper towel here because it's still quite wet. So I start by cutting the block in half. And then sometimes I press that inside so it's not so crumbly as well. And then I keep cutting the tofu up into little blocks. So next I take that tofu and I just spread it out on the baking tray. And you want to make sure you do a good job separating them. And then once the oven is preheated, I put the tofu in and bake that for about 15 minutes. You could flip the tofu if you wanted to have it browned equally on all sides. I don't have time for that. While the tofu is baking, we'll go ahead and start the curry. So I have a big pot that I like to use. I turn the stove on to about medium to medium high. This is a pan that is not non-stick, so we definitely have to use oil in this, or you could use some non-cooking spray. This one cannot, so I use oil, just a little bit, about a tablespoon in the bottom of that. The first thing that I do to the curry is add the coconut milk in. Next, I add the seasonings. So I add about a tablespoon of curry powder. And then I do 2 teaspoons of turmeric, 2 teaspoons of cumin, 1 teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of salt, and then I do a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, a half teaspoon of black pepper, and then about a quarter of a teaspoon of ginger. And then I like to stir that all together just to blend it a little bit. Then I add the vegetables in to our curry mixture. So again, that's 2 bags or 24 ounces total of vegetables is what I would recommend using. So what we want to do is just stir our curry as it cooks intermittently so that it doesn't burn on the bottom. But we want to cook this over medium-high heat until the vegetables are really hot and of course all the frozen stuff is gone. While the curry's finishing up cooking, I take the tofu out of the oven. So what I do is I kind of scrape it off of the pan and gather it up, and then I add it to my curry. And then I just stir it and I let it simmer for a few extra minutes just so that the tofu gets the flavor from the sauce. And I might lower the temperature a little bit. It seems like it's quite hot. So I'll just give that a few minutes, let it cool off, and then we'll be ready to eat. So here's my finished curry and naan bread. So I have a bite here with the naan bread, some tofu, and some vegetables. It's so good. Again, this is one of my favorite curries and one of my favorite meals. This is a staple. Let me know if you make the curry or if you have any other video recommendations. I would love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.